Recognize Mr. Johnson from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Great to see you. And you arrived at my doorstep on a high as far as electric vehicles are concerned. I want you to continue on this streak that you are on right now, explaining why it's important that our economy lead in terms of adopting new forms of clean, renewable energy, automobiles representing a big part of that. Would you, I want to open the floor to you to kind of talk about why we're heading in this direction, why it's important that we continue to do so.
I appreciate the question, and I want to emphasize part of why I care so much about this is that I grew up in northern Indiana, the industrial Midwest, and the home of what had been the Studebaker Car Company, which went out of business 20 years before I was born. And that meant that I grew up surrounded by crumbling and decaying factories that were a consequence of our automotive economy and our part of the Midwest not keeping up with the most recent and necessary processes and technologies. So I know what's at stake economically for our country in terms of the importance of us leading the EV market instead of finding excuses to hold on to dirty and expensive fuels and old technology for as long as humanly possible. I also appreciate the opportunity to return to one of the important dimensions of the exchange I was just having with Representative Burleson, which is life safety. ACS data suggests that 29,000 deaths per year are attributable to human-caused domestic omissions, including 7,700 from truck use and 9,700 from passenger vehicle use. We have a chance to change that. And if there is any problem, safety or otherwise, with any new technology, that's not an excuse to stop pursuing new technology. It's an imperative to make sure that that new technology unfolds well, unfolds safely, and that's what our department has been doing for as long as it's existed.
Yes, our EV technology is world leading at this point, but it is subject to being overshadowed by what is taking place in other nations. Can you talk about that?
Well, China has invested hugely in its EV capabilities. I don't believe that's because the Chinese Communist Party is enthusiastic about the environment. I believe it's because they perceive the economic and strategic benefits of trying to dominate that market, which is one of the reasons why the Biden administration is protecting the U.S. market with appropriate tariffs on that unfairly subsidized Chinese industry. We face fierce competition from around the world, just as we did in the first chapter of the automotive industry. But we're determined as an administration, and I'm determined as a child of the industrial Midwest, to make sure that America leads the way in the EV revolution, just as we led the way the first time around in the arrival of automobiles a little over 100 years ago.
You know, the Biden administration has been responsible for creating 16 million plus new jobs during this 3.5 years in office. Can you tell us about job growth that is associated with the EV industry?
Well, we've seen EV battery and manufacturing facilities rise across the country, of course, in Georgia, in my home state, both my new home state of Michigan that I married into and my state where I grew up of Indiana. And whether we're talking about the battery side or the manufacturing side, we know that we've got the opportunity to create new, good-paying jobs. Part of what was at stake in the UAW strike and the historic contract that those workers earned was to make sure that that EV economy continues to create not just large numbers of jobs, but good-paying jobs. And that's part of why the president was so proud to be with those auto workers as they sought that great opportunity.
First time a president has been on a picket line.
That's true. Yes, sir.
And I'll note that the union movement has just exploded since the Biden administration came into office.
It's been an extraordinary time for American workers, historic contracts in many sectors, including, of course, transportation and manufacturing.
Thank you. Let me ask you this question. The Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority and the Georgia Department of Transportation applied for the Department of Transportation's mega grant program for their Georgia 400 Express Lanes project. This project will combine the Georgia Department of Transportation's express lanes and dedicated bus rapid transit lanes to significantly improve congestion and transit access to over 120,000 jobs within a mile radius of the 5 stations. Can you discuss the strategic timing and expected outcomes of the mega grant awarded to support this initiative?
Thank you. We're working through those mega grant applications through the course of this year. Certainly recognize the enthusiasm around this project, and I can commit to you I'll make sure it gets every fair consideration, and I'll become more familiar with the specific project.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.
The gentleman yields. Ms. Chavez.